This is me, Kia again. Um, Today I'm going to talk about storyboards. So, um, first of all, let me have a introduce myself. I'm an illustrator. I live in New York for 10 years, and I have been working in a small commercial studio before as a full-time staff, and I mostly do concept art and storyboards. I would say storyboard is one of my most confident skill. So today I'm gonna share how to do storyboards. So let me just show you guys what I had before. This is the file I'm talking about today. I'm gonna show you guys my website. So this is my website. This is the past job I've been working on. I guess I can show you guys one of them. I work on the Deadpool trailer before. It was pretty fun. That's probably the one of the most really fun one that I've ever done. I'm gonna talk about how to do storyboards here. So basically, if some of you guys who don't know what storyboard it's something that you lay out the composition and the whole stories according to what whatever creative director or art director have in mind. So basically you're laying out that story. Sometimes some of the art directors, they have clear, like they are clear of what they want. They would be like, hey, I want about how many frames, and I was envision like this person standing there or something happen after. That would be an easy case to do that because you just follow the instruction and do a few changes later. But most of them, they don't really know how it would really look like, but they would have like a rough idea about like, oh, I have a general idea about this couple going to like a exotic place to travel, but then she wouldn't really have, like she or he wouldn't really have any idea about how it looked like. Then that's where you come in. You decide how it looked like from close up, zoom out, zoom in from each shot. So for example, this one I worked on, the Deadpool one. So, I mean, generally all of the storyboard, usually the first frame cut into a white frame, which is the first one here I have right now. I mean, some of them would cut in with the close up, but usually it's a white shot. White shot means you see the background and you see where the character is standing at. So it establishes sense to the viewers that, hey, this character is standing in here, this environment. So you know where the character is. So this is the first frame that the Deadpool is standing in this crazy world full of monster and imagination of his own, and he's sitting on a unicorn. So I'm not, because this is a live job later on, I'm not going to talk about that much. So I'm gonna talk about what I have in front of me right now. So this is what I have right now. This is a personal project, but it's a similar idea. And first of all, let me talk about the format, image size. Usually, this is what I work with. Pixels. I actually enlarged it, but usually it's 16 with 9 ratio. That means when I turn this, width is usually 1920. Well, this one, for example, is 1920 by 1080. So before you work with art director or whoever you're working with, you want to make sure the size is what they want. Well, 1920 by 1080 is one of the size. Sometimes I use a wider one. It's like a cinema kind of wide, so that would be 1920 by 924. There's also TV sizes that you can look up on Wiki. I used to use that as a guide so I don't cut out anything in the middle. So it's kind of like when you're drawing it, you want to have a margin on the side, so nothing important is too on the side that some of the people still have the old version of TV and then they would cut it out, you know. So that's being said, I work with this ratio right now, and I usually preferred it to be a larger size, and I would turn the switch the width to 3000. So that's much wider, and the line quality will be much better. Okay. So, what did I do? Deleted the layer by accident. Anyway, so this is the file I have right now, and talk about sizes later on. When you're sending it out to the director, the size might be too big, and they don't need it that big. Like the size you saw me had, that I have a 300 dpi, which is a printable size. Usually, they don't need a printable size because no one's gonna print this out. Remember, like storyboards is before the production. That's helping the camera man or woman how to shoot their composition and everything. So this is never going to be an end product. Only the client is gonna approve it, so only the client's gonna see it. Only you and your art team is gonna see it. Only the cameraman is gonna see it as a references. So you can actually compress the size after you finish all of these. Before I started, I have to share one of the things that I really like. Because I used Photoshop to do my storyboard. I know there's another software called Storyboard something. There's a software just for storyboard, and I heard that it's much easier and you can do animatic on that stuff too. But today I'm sharing with what I'm familiar with, so hope you guys don't mind. So I'm just gonna talk about how I do it on Photoshop. So here you go. You see Windows. What you want to make sure is you want to turn on layer comps. Layer comps, if you never use it before, layer comp is so convenient. I actually learned this from one of my directors. So layer comp, you can see this. I actually number them. So what layer comp do is, for example, if I want to save this one as what it is and I want to come back later without clicking on the side to reveal the layer, what you do is you see this little icon here. It creates a new layer comp. It's like creating a new layer, but not in your layer folder, in the layer comp. So in the layer comp, I can name this as draft. So you can see that it created a new layer over here, but it will not affect my layers. So by clicking this little icon besides the title, draft, I will come back to this. So I'm gonna show you guys what I have so far. When I click on one, it shows the first frame that I done before. Number 2, number 3. So what you wanna do is you wanna make sure what shows on the side as the frame that you want, right? I hope that's clear enough. If that's not clear enough, just shoot me a question. So by doing that, this is a lot of frames I have so far. So some of them are pretty rough, and that's okay. There's some of the terms you guys might want to know. For storyboards, there's close-up shots. There's for example, this is pretty close up. It's close up on the face and even cut off the head. They rarely really go for that, but unless they're, you know, talking to each other, and that would be like a close up. So this is a close up. Um, this is more of a wide shot. So whenever you see the character almost full body with background, that established way they are is usually addressed as wide shot. And number 3, this is more like a medium shot. So medium shot is from waist up. I think that's called close up medium shot. You guys can Google it. They have a term for it. I mean, it's best that you know some of this term if you want to work with our director. But you can also ask like, hey, you know, is this shot from waist up okay? You know, just to make sure when you're communicating with our director on the ideas that you're drawing. It's always best if you're getting it out clear before you go into the next process of polishing up your line or frames. So this is number 3. Number 4, this is like kind of like a medium shot. This is a close-up on the hand. Close up on the hand. And then this is what I did here. This is more like a transition close up. So this is also, you can see the background on the full character. So this is like a wide shot. So whatever wide shot is applied is usually when that you're changing to another scene and you're telling the viewer where they are right now. And this is a medium shot. So that's being said, I'm gonna explain this first frame that I did before. So what you want to do is, so listen closely to what the director said. So one of the things that my teacher taught me is that when a director give you a direction and that said, the director might said, hey, I want this first shot to be this person close up and we can see the expression. And you can be like, oh, how close? Do you want it to be this close? Like the face is this big? And the director might said, maybe larger, right? So you'd be like, hey, okay, let's erase that. Larger. How about this? Is this large enough? With 2 eyes here, just do really rough, just to let the director know where is it, so you can work on it later, and you're saving his time and you're saving your own time too. So try to lay out the whole frame with the director first. So you'll be like, hey, the director will be like, yes, about that wide. And so that means this is an angle from above. What I want to point out is, remember, storyboards never goes to the final production. It won't be a final artwork. But also, I don't like plagiarism either. So don't copy other people's artwork or copy completely. But as a good artist, you do need to have some kind of references. So you can Google the image that's more from above, something like this, you know, and you can find the right image and just insert into it to find the right perspective, and that saves you time, and time is money, trust me. You don't want to figure out the whole perspective on this one frame while you have to finish 24 frames by one day. So let's say if I feel like, oh, this one is probably the one that I think is more close to what I'm thinking, then you can, let me see if I can drag this to my, Photoshop. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Save image as. On desktop, save. So what you want to do is where's that image? There you go. You want to drop into your layer. Okay. When you first drop in, Photoshop will let you change the size of it, but you can't change the layer. But it's okay. Okay, try not to stretch it. Press shift at the same time so it keeps the same ratio. Okay, what I'm doing here is not to copy this photos completely. So remember, even if this is not going to the final production, you don't want to copy this completely. It's totally illegal and totally not encouraging to do that. But it does help you as a guideline. You turn down the opacity, and let's say I want a person walking there. So what you want to do is try to figure out the perspective on this photo. So this is what I do for tricky perspective. I actually try to imagine there's like square tiles on the floor. So just trying to imagine what the square tiles on the floor looks like. And you can also Google perspective. There's tons of tutorials, I believe, there. You know, there's like a disappearing point, you know, somewhere it will meet up outside the picture here. If you can see, the line will meet up over there. So make sure all the lines that goes that way will probably roughly meet that disappearing point over there somewhere. So same thing for the other side. If it does kind of look like the perspective. And also there's a perspective tool in Photoshop if you want to be so precise. But right now, if you are saving time like I do all the time, which you have to hand this in 2 days or 1 day for 40 frames, then you probably don't have time for that. That being said, so when you kind of get this perspective out, I wouldn't turn off this layer immediately. I would still serve this as references. So what I do is, let's imagine there's a person standing right here. What I would do is I would kind of put in a long rectangle over here, right? So also when you're doing storyboard, you want to have good sense of figure drawing. You want to know human body. I wouldn't say you have to be a very expert figure drawing person, but at least you have to know like the ratio of each body. Let's say I want to draw a man here. This is the total length of the person, and I already have the rectangle out, and I also have the perspective out. I'm good to go. I can just draw a person with the right perspective on this picture. I'm just roughly showing you. This is how I process in my head. You have that, right? Now, when you roughly go in, you can be like drawing this person out on this perspective. You can also look up some references of how walking look like. You know, one hand is gonna be in the front, one hand's gonna be in the back. So now you have roughly the idea, and then you can add some person behind, like walking by. This is an above angle. Usually, I think usually I don't really draw the above angle like this, but it's a good angle. It's very dramatic, very storytelling. You can add more person if you want, just by having this perspective out. So, I would say definitely draw more to get to know more. That's what I said to people. It's drawing is not just researching how you do it. You have to draw it. It's a muscle memory. So they can be another person over here. It's always nice if you have something in the front like this, like a foreground area, so you know the distance. And there's also a thing about composition. So I think I'm kind of used to how to lay out composition, but let me explain in words is that when my brain is doing this, my brain is trying to map out several different triangles that lead your eyes back to the main character in the composition. Let me explain it more. Okay, what I meant was you don't like how while I'm mapping this out, I'm trying to see what's the whole composition flow back to this main character I want the viewer to view first. And there are a few things you can do. You can for example, you can zoom out really small. That's one way to do it. So you'll be like, oh, I think that it's a little weird over there. They always help you view differently, like, oh, that leg is kind of out of place. When you zoom out, you can see the whole picture better, rather than like having this picture so huge stuck in your face. So I wouldn't say this composition is the best, but right now I'm sort of satisfied with it. And I guess it's because it has a flow, leads you back to the main character, and I'll explain that. So by placing this two-person behind, it creates this line over here. It also creates, like, this person's foot creates this line over here, and this is creating that. So when it comes back, I think maybe something needs to be there to come back to the main character, and then this, so anyway, I'm gonna delete this. This is just a demo. I'm gonna show you the one that I've done before. So as you can see, I deleted that draft layer, so it will have like a little warning sign on the side. That means this layer have been changed. So what you can do is you can delete it or you can update it. So I'm gonna delete this layer comp. So this is the first one I did. Storyboard usually don't go to that polished. This is just my personal project. So this is just showing you how the first one looked like. I'm not satisfied with that, by the way. So this is the second one. So when you want to do the second one, when you want to do other frames, you want to make sure they are all in layer comps. Usually 30 seconds, 20 second to 30-second commercial usually need around from at least 18 frames to 24 frames. It also depends on what kind of story it is. If it's like a boring medical storyboard, then usually they fix with this one woman or man, like talking about their whatever disease they have. Then you would only have this person's close-up face right in the middle for the rest of the 15 seconds, and then it goes to the legal announcement or something, So it really depends on what kind of job you get. Let's start with something a little simpler. So this I map out before. Actually, what I would do is I would turn down the opacity. Okay. Until that it's super light, that it doesn't interrupt me. So I'll create another new layers. Make sure the line is okay, not too thin, because I realized there's one problem when your line is too thin and you exported it. What the art director usually do is they would put up a treatment. Treatment is where they would try to win this job. They would put it in a PDF, and they would put your frame in. Usually, they would put your frame in one page. That means PDF 1 page. Your one frame is gonna be 1 page wide, like 1/3 of the 1 page wide, because they would put your frame like this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It will shrink, you know what I mean? So if your line is either too light or too thin, when they put it in the InDesign file, put it on the PDF, it's going to be not visible. So make sure your line is not too thin. And what would I do is, this is a cheat sheet right here. You want to find good references, and you want to save your time. If you're really not good with anatomy, you want to be like, type in some right references like back, man, back of a man, back of a man, back of a man. You want to have good references in suit, maybe. Suit. You want to see how it really look like. So, let's see. Oh, and you can see this is a little bit low angle, and that's nice. What we can do is we can look at that. We can sort of look at that as a references. So you get your ratio right. You can see this draft I'm having here. It's a little out of place. So, like, don't be afraid to make your line messy. It's totally fine. You have the eraser, and this is a digital program, and you can do whatever you want to do. So just trying to get the ratio right first. And how it look right, So what I would do for figure drawing is I would put a line over here just to align the shoulder. And you want to put a midline for where you center the spine, and that's very important. Once you center the spine, you know the ratio and you know where it goes. And because this is a perspective kind of drawing, you can have some perspective line going with there, so help you. So see, make sure you get some folds on the fabric right, so it look a little bit realistic and believable. So make sure you got that right. Sometimes if I have the exact perspective that I found, I would just drop in and sort of trace it, to save times. Because once again, storyboard will not be a finished artwork that's selling to people. You're just doing a composition and you're trying to make it believable and more accurate. So when the camera person shoot it, it saves them more time and the composition will be more accurate for them. So unless if you're doing, if you're doing it for a finished product, then no, please don't trace anybody's work or photos. It's illegal. And you'll be lying to yourself. You never learn from that. If you copy someone else's stuff and try to claim it as your own. But storyboard's a little different. I mean, like I said, it's not going to be a finished product. It's not going to sell as a finished product to print on anything. And by tracing some of the photos or something, actually helped me get better of drawing people too. So make sure you got that right. You can always come back to eraser. Trying to not get too messy. Usually what storyboard art director or client would look for is something presentable. If let's say if this is a 2-day job, I would get my line quality to as clean as possible. I once done about maybe 50 something frames in 2 days, and that's very tiring. And trust me, you don't have a lot of time to do it on your own. You need to have photos to help you figure out perspective and how the human face look like right away, because you only have little time for each frame. You don't have that much time. So like I said, what I'm doing right now, I'm just trying to polish up. So this is the draft line of the spine that I did before. You can just erase that. It's not important. So this is the level that I would get to. It also depends on what art director wants you to have too. Some of the art director want it to be really rough. Some of them want it to be really presentable. So make sure you got the folds right. And since it's not going to be colored, usually storyboard doesn't require you to color. Some of them require you to have some gray tone on it. So you can have some little shadowy line. It actually help a little bit to help people look at the volume of the human body too. And you can have some little details like this tailor line over here. And this hand is in behind, so you can get some shadow on it. And And there you go. Okay, usually I would get another layer under it. So when you're trying to move around later on, you don't have to. You don't have to select it because you're already separated into different layers. And by adding some little perspective line like this, I think it helps. It helps the people look at it to understand that it's an object over there and not just a blank place. I'm just roughly doing this. So by pressing, when you do a little dot over here gently and you press shift. Oh, it doesn't work. There you go. You press shift between point and you can get a straight line. And it's very useful. That's a quick straight line. So there you go, you got some straight line. Got some straight line. So I'm sorry if I sound very nervous. I've actually never really do storyboard tutorial before. And by the way, this is a personal project. It's a little story that I'm doing on Detroit Become Human. It's a little story I was thinking about. I mean, I'm not going to spoil you anything, but it's about Connor. Oh, you're gonna get spoiled anyway. So if you haven't played the game, just don't watch this tutorial. Go play the game or watch gameplay. It's a really high quality, good storyline game. Anyway, see, here I would want to get a good reference. You can try to find a good reference, like a man in suit, but it's usually, you know what, usually when I'm doing storyboard, actually 1/3 of the time is trying to get a good references. So someone said, so useful, thank you, and sorry for leaving, I have to sleep. No problem. I know it's late on the other side of the earth. Good night and thank you for watching this. So I'm gonna continue. So right there, this man right here, I want something from below, you know, something from below. Suit, man, suit, below. Yo, I'm sometimes really scared. You know, sometimes you're trying to type in some kind of keyword and then Google give you something inappropriate. You know, it's quite disturbing, you know, sometimes when I'm trying to find something and then they give you something either disgusting or inappropriate or something kind of shocking. I'm glad it's not the case today. Okay, let's try to find the right perspective kind of that can help us. If not, what we can do is, I'm gonna show you guys in a second. And there's always weird image. I'm glad in this case there isn't any weird image. And it was, I mean, there's all kind of weird stuff on internet. You never know. This is sort of a below, but it's not the angle that we want. This is a tricky part. if you really want to get it really like accurate or something. This is sort of below, but again, we can do the same thing. We can just look at it and just trying to get that feeling and ratio right? Oh, right, and I'm drawing corner, and sometimes our director will give you the actor's face, or the feeling of the actor's face or actress face that they want to do. This is a part you can Google it and try to get that right. So in this case, I would just Google Connor from Detroit Become Human. Yes. Let's find a front face of him. This is him. This is him. My boy. So, see, that's why I said when you're setting up your image file, you want your image file to be a lot larger than you had to hand in, because this is the time when you have to zoom in, and you see it's like 200% zoom in. That means it's small. You're doing it very small right now on here, and this is often the case when you're doing storyboards and you want the line quality to look good, and if you don't have a good enough size, it's not gonna come out good. I mean, at least that's for me. So you have the references of the face over here. And if you guys have any question, please just tap it on the side. I'll try to answer it. And if you just join this video, I'm doing a live stream of how I do storyboard. And usually storyboard don't really go that detailed, as long as you get the right idea. I always think he has like a really hard kind of face to draw, you know. He does. He has a very unique face, you know. I have trouble drawing him. But since I'm only talking about storyboards, I think I can get away with it, right? I don't know. And also, I'm actually testing out my Wacom mobile studio that I just got 3 days ago, and it caused me a lot of troubles. If you watch my previous video, you'll understand how much trouble that it gave me. I changed some setting on this, and I hope it's doing okay, because I'm gonna bring this to my storyboard job, and I don't want any shitty thing happen on it. I hope it hangs on there. I hope it hangs in there. Just hang in there. This is almost making me wanna, maybe, you know, maybe my Wacom is trying to be a deviant. Who knows? Maybe he's just trying to protest me and be like, I'm not going to be a slave. You artists are horrible. Who knows? Gosh, maybe I should set it free. I don't know if you guys noticed, I even have a desk AC on the side just to try to cool the battery part down. I hope it's alright, because it has like an overheat problem. If it goes black screen, I hope I covered everything. So you can see the line quality isn't very good right now. Maybe you can't see it from far away, but I can see it. Because we are zooming in on 200% right now. And this is what happened. So let's zoom back out. Clearly my head is too small. Let's look at the reference we have. Not Connor. The suit man. The suit man. The suit man. And you want to do, remember, free transform is your good friend. You press down shift and enlarge it so you don't screw up the ratio that you already had. I think that's about right, probably. And click this select. Again, I would try to get the whole body right. You do a shoulder line. This is what my oil painting teacher taught me. You can actually measure the head, right? In this case, it has perspective involved. You count down the second portion of the head here, and magically, that's where the nipple is. No matter as a man or a woman, that's where the nipples are. So that means it helped me determine where is the chest. This is very useful, I think, when it comes to drawing humans. So you don't get you get the neck and this part right. So this is the chest part, right? And this is the suit. There you go. It's like a math equation. You understand human body and you know your game. So it has a very interesting, I mean, I really love this game's character design. It's very brilliant. The costume design and everything. I've never seen anything like that, and clearly they did it successfully by making their a very own costume and very unique, something that you would look at this and be like, hey, I know this is from that game. So I really think they did a great job on the design part too. That being said, well, I have to point out they have a few plot holes. I think I can, sort of think that's okay. They can get away with it. Because characters in theirs are pretty nice. And it has some thrillers in there, action movie type of thing. So again, know your game. References and Googles are your good best friend when you come to drawings. So trying to see how the suit look like, trying to see the outline of it, how it look like, trying to see the shape of the sleeves, trying to see if that makes sense. I hope I make sense. If I don't, please feel free to should be any question. And also, I have my Patreon, and I have the link right below this live stream video if you want to get more stuff, like, for example, the PDS file of this, or I will share any high-res image on there for Patreon. And I just started it. So I wish I have more stuff adding on later on. I would really appreciate all your support, and I appreciate you watching this. It really means a lot to me. I'm just trying to explore how to be an artist and trying to share my knowledge of being in the professional art world, and I hope this can help more people by doing what they want to do. So I hope I can share as much as I can. I mean, I wish I know this when before I graduate. So I hope this can help some of you. I did take a storyboard class in college, and it was super useful. The instructor was really useful because he had been there for a professional storyboard artist as well. But the different thing is he done it by hand, and I guess it's okay for him because his clients are okay with him doing traditionally. Later on, I was in this I got into this commercial studio. Most of them they don't use traditional media. They just give you a Wacom tablet and just work with it and just work digitally, and it actually save you more time do it digitally, trust me. Like I said, if you have reference, you can just throw this in and done it by reference. It's much faster, and also when you've done it digitally, you can easily scale anything, zoom in or zoom out. You can change stuff quickly, and it's clean, save you time, and you save your clients time too, because they pay you. You charge by day rate and they pay you, and you don't want to waste more time to let them pay extra for you. So that's one good thing about digital stuff. And try to be professional. If you're rooting for being a storyboard artist, you want to ask everything clear before you go into this stage, drawing clear outline. I mean, clearly I'm still learning, but at least I have experience doing storyboards, and I'm doing as my job right now. I hope I can get better as well. I think he has a belt, right? Well, there's another thing about hand. That's where you can measure it. Where the hand, if the hand is stretched out, it should be the half of your thigh. So that's where you measure where your stuff is. That's one other thing when I'm drawing humans' bodies. That's a guideline. A very useful guideline there. So I mean, my muscle memory sort of remember how the bottom of the trouser looks like. I have some squeaky line because the fabric will sit against on the top of your shoes. So I have some little squeaky line, and you can put some tiny shadow on the knee. It creates more volume like that, so it's not too flat. And that's one other thing that you can do. It's just some small little thing. I usually put little shadowy line under the neck as well. Well, this is considered a clean line. So if your client are looking for this, trying to get it as clean, but you don't have to get it too polished. at least something clean that they understand what is what. Let's zoom out. And you can see how, now I see how this is so rough. You don't have to get it perfect. Like I said, time is money. You cannot spend too much time on this. As long as they understand this is a hair and this is the back of a man. And the ratio is somehow right, then that's fine. That's fine. So now I have him. And what I notice is because I zoom in and my line gets a lot thinner, what I would do is I would select this whole thing. This is another good thing about digital painting. I would select this and press right click it. You would select layer copy, and there you go. It's just duplicated the part that you selected. And if you think it's too thick, you can turn the opacity down a little bit. And then what I would do is I will right click it and merge down. There you go. So it's on the same layer. So what I imagine is this is a cylinder glass thingy. So what I would do is I would put some line on there. So try to know how to express different texture by using line. It's sort of like comic and manga, but it's a little different. But it helps. And what I would do is, because I would imagine maybe there's like a light from above that's, you know, right above his head, then it would have a dramatic shadow. Then I would add some dramatic shadow by doing a straight line. I wouldn't do crosshatch, because if you do crosshatch, that becomes a texture. And when that becomes a texture, and it only appears in one part of the image, it would feel really weird. So I'm gonna keep it vertical right now. But make sure your line is sort of aligned with the perspective line, so it looks good. Let me know if that makes sense. If you have any question, please ask. So the bottom of this thing will get a lot darker, I think. There you go. And you can also add a line on this person right here. And what you can see is I haven't even drawn out the whole thing, and he's already a little bit lost, since this person right here should be in the foreground, if that makes sense. If this person should be in the foreground, what I would do is right click. I would get the brush size a little larger, and this is one of the tricks that I learned along the way. Again, you don't have to learn my way. You can do whatever you want, but this is what I do. I would retrace the outline with a thicker size of the brush, and it always helps read it better. So there you go. Just doing it really quickly. I mean, you can probably also select it and then just outline it with stroke or something, whatever you can do. But right now I'm just using hand to show you quickly. And yeah, so make sure you know where your layer is. So let's change the brush size back to a lot thinner. There you go. No, and it comes to a question that we have a man over here that's super foreground. And I'm gonna show you how do I do a non-important foreground object. I always tap something by accident. Believe me, I'm not trying to advertise for them. It's always hard to find something, but at least this image is sort of closer to that, because I just want to see how suits look like from a more lower angle. So what we can do is start drawing. You know what, I'm gonna make the size a little larger for the brush size. You know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lens blur this front object, because it's gonna create a depth, and it's always work great for every storyboard that I do, believe me. Yeah, that photo doesn't really help as the references. My apology. I'm just sort of going with my brain right now. Can go a tiny bit rough, which is fine, because this is a foreground person. I'm gonna show you what I meant later. Sorry, it's a little kind of rough, but actually sometimes this level of rough is enough for a storyboard too. The thing is, when you blur it out, you can't really see it, but let's see. Also, it will also help if you put some shadow, even though if we're gonna blur this later on. I don't know if there's any storyboard tutorial out there. I've never really searched for it. Maybe there's better ones out there than mine. And I believe there's like probably tons of way to do it. Maybe there's an easier way too. I'm just doing it my way and share it my way so far. Throughout those 2 years of doing storyboards. If this worked for you, I'm glad, and definitely let me know if you like to do it this way, or if you found out a better way. If you want to share it with me, just feel free to leave a comment or whatever. So now we draw this foreground person. Feel like that line should be like that. Okay, I'm not going into detail. I would shadow that leg, shadow certain part, and what I would do is you will strengthen the line a little bit more. Trust me, every time when I blur it, the darkness of the line sometimes is gone. You want to get it a little thicker than usual. What I would do is I right click on the layer, I would duplicate the layer and close the original layer because I want to save it in case the blur goes wrong and I can come back and redo it. So I will usually put the foreground layer to the very front, so I know that's the foreground layer, even though sometimes I don't have time to name every layer. If you have time, you can definitely do it, but like I said, my deadline is usually 50 frames for 2 days, then I don't have time to name every layers unless it's like certain layers that I will keep coming back to and copy them. Then I would give them a little colors or something. So what you want to do is you tap window. No, not window, I'm sorry. You tap, make sure it's selected on that layer. You tap filter and you tap under the blur menu, you would want Gaussian blur. I know there's other blur effect, but I like Gaussian blur because you can preview it. You can do it here. You see how different it already made? It immediately makes the whole image focus on this, and it creates a depth to it. I think 6.8 is probably enough. Yeah. So see how different that make? It's such a game changer when you do this in your storyboards. It will really look good. And it also help your art director win the job too when it looks good. So why not to make it look good? At least I think it's good if you like it. So with background, I would do the same. Let's change the brush size to a little smaller. Make sure you have this references of several different weird man or hot man dressed in suit. Let's see. What do I need? I need back. I need a back of a man. There you go. I think this is enough for me right now. I'm okay with that. Let's work on some little background. Like you can do a little rough, because usually what happens in storyboards is they are probably also figure out where they're gonna shoot to. They're probably on the location scout. So unless they already done the location scout and they can provide you a solid location photos, then you can totally draw based on that. But usually the case is when you're in storyboard stage, the whole pitch is still progressing. So you just want to give a little rough idea of where it is. Well, in this case, drawing a personal project, and I'm drawing this fan art, you can say, from Detroit Becomes Human. So you already got the whole idea of how the whole thing looked like, kind of in there. But I'm not based this background in any actual background that appeared in the game. I just want to give an idea that this happened within the CyberLife building. So it will look super high-tech, sci-fi-ish looking place. But still, I'm gonna put on a lens blur on Gaussian blur. I think I got confused with lens flare and Gaussian blur. I'm sorry, I mean Gaussian blur later on. So there's one thing about walking I can share about. When you're drawing walking, right? Someone walking, you always try to make sure if one hand it's swinging in the front, the leg is coming, the leg is in the it's you know stepping backward. So that means this hand is in the back, that leg should go in the front. They never really go the same side. It will look very unnatural. Maybe some of the people do walk like that, but when you're drawing it, you want to look natural. So that's one little thing I do mind about when I'm drawing storyboards. It's probably not as natural enough, but I don't have a good reference as I'm trying to go really fast to show you guys, so bear with me and my somehow not that good human anatomy. Oh my god, I wish I can take more life model drawing thing. I really want to draw some life model and really help you get familiar with human body too, and also help you strengthen it up. It's like taking vitamins. Constantly drawing life model, it definitely help a lot in many perspectives, even though if you're a professional artist already. I really recommend that. But right now I'm still sorting out my life, and I'm sort of poor right now, to be honest, so I can't really do anything. So that's that. Okay, same thing, we can put down some shadow line. Even though those are like in the background, that's totally fine. And this man's gonna be so not important in the background, but trying to get the rough face feature right. So sometimes I use references, sometimes I don't, if I think I know what I'm drawing. So same thing, opposite leg, it's stepping forward. It's not the same hand. It's not the same side of the arms. That's swinging forward. There you go, with that rough man in the background. We can add more little ones. And this is so small that it's not important, but you still need to indicate that there's some other people in the background. You can get a rough outline and some rough shadow. There you go with that, and there's another person over here. You'll see in a second why I get it so rough. Because right now when I get the background, it's actually kind of interfering with the main character that we have right now. When I put on Gaussian blur later on, you're gonna be like, hey, oh, I know what you're doing. got some little people back there. And let's see the whole image. I think I can add more people here just to indicate that this place now have a lot of Android. So again, about the size thingy. Usually, I mean nowadays, people have a wider screen. So this is more up for like a wider TV for people at home in terms of storyboards. But some of the people, they're still using the old kind, which is a little bit more square-ish. So try to keep whatever's important information in the middle. Sometimes there would be over shoulder shot. You don't want to get the over shoulder shot too on the side. Then you would only get the shoulder of that person. I can talk about that later. Let's finish this frame up first. And I would get another layer out just to do the background. Again, this background was not from the game itself. I just wanted trying to indicate that it's a place that's within the company of Cyberlife that looks sort of sci-fi-ish, and trying to match that with perspective line which I had. Once you get the perspective line out for the background, it will really gives a good sense of the angles, the camera angles. I was trying to get the background really rough. Like I said before, usually they're not sure where the background is, and you don't want the background to be too clear unless your art director tell you to do a very clear background. You can. Sometimes I do though. I would just find references if I'm drawing a background that needs, for example, coffee shop. I would find references of coffee shop, and with the right perspective, I would put the coffee shop references photo that are from online, and just put it directly in Photoshop, and just trace it. You know, like what I said before, you need to save time on Storyboard. And later on, they will find their place, you know. They will scout the place they want to shoot. Then, they probably come back to you as a revision and would be like, hey, we found this place. We want it to look exactly like this place. Then you'll have to come back and change the background. This is where you will thank yourself for separating the background as another layer to save you so much trouble later on when you do the revision. Revision can go up to 6 maximum, maybe. It go on to like a 5th or 6th revision. It's quite annoying, but they pay you. That's what you have to do. Okay. I'm not sure what this building looked like, but it's something like this. It's okay, so far my Wacom mobile, it's it's working and it's fine. I appreciate that. Because I need to bring this baby out to work. And I hope it stays this way and works fine. I am sort of getting away with fading out on the edges. I think that's okay. So it's like a cylinder kind of building. I have no idea where this is. I have to make it look like it's sort of from the game, but it's not. I think it's okay. You know, in the game they have those really large screen showing their android faces and be like, this is our future. I'm gonna put one here. I'm gonna put one here. Like a huge screen. Make sure it aligns well with your perspective. I probably should rotate my canvas, but I'm not. That's fine. You can do it roughly because that's totally not important. Oh, you know what I can do? I can do RK900 is new or something like that. So I can do it very lightly because it's an unimportant information. You don't want to include it in your storyboard. And it's gonna blur it out later, so. Well, sometimes small thing like this, the art director will give you an instruction of what they want to see in the background. And this is a time that you can ask the question and be like, I don't know what it looks like. Do you have an idea of what you want it to look like? And sometimes the art director wouldn't. It would be like, hey, I don't know. Just take care of it. I trust your instinct. Just do something that look good. And sometimes that's the best. You can just do whatever. And do something that you like. Something that you think it look good. And just put it in there. Okay, I don't want to get it too obvious. Now we have our whole picture. Let's turn off the drafts. And what I would do is same thing. I would duplicate the two layers. Right click it. Duplicate. Okay. Turn off the original layers. And I would give the original layer some colors. You can set it with whatever colors, so you know that those are the original layers that you were using. Okay, this is the people one. Let's deal with the background first. Or maybe let's deal with the people first. Turn off the background. And that's filter. Make sure you click blur, Gaussian blur. Do we want this blurry? Probably not. That's too blurry. This is a good enough of blurry, I think. That's good. And I somehow think the person right over on the right side is a little bit too tall. Let's move in. Let's move in. Oops. What did I do? I think I can move it. Okay, there you go. Let's move him and enlarge that person a little bit. Transform. Press down Shift. Transform. Maybe a little larger, so. Does it look like it belongs there? Yeah, I think that looks so much better, right? Deselect. And now it comes to the background part. You want to blur that as well. Filter, blur. Let's see here. You want it to be a little more blurry. That looks good, I think. So, that looks good. Okay, someone said, hi, I find your tips for storyboards and commercials very helpful. Thank you for sharing. You're welcome. If you have any question, please let me know. I hope I can help. I don't think I'm very experienced yet, but I've only been doing it for 2 years and went on several projects. And I hope those help. And yeah, come back to this. I put some lens blur. No, not lens blur, Gaussian blur. So it really changed a lot. So it make you feel like it's has depth to it. That's one of the tricks I love to use. And what I'm gonna add onto this is, okay, let's enlarge it. Let's save it. Okay, there's another thing about this. Sometimes when you finish the whole line and maybe the production, they have more time for you, then they would tell you to at least put on some gradation. What I would do is I would color this in orange. I would call out the gradation tool, put a light background first. Make sure it's a good, not too, like a mid-gray. Depends on where you want. So you put on a background, kind of. I think that looks good. Maybe I want it a little darker. Tiny bit darker. Let's see. Yeah, something like that, right? Okay. So that's our. I would name it BK. Just for sure. You don't want to waste too much time on naming your layers. There's no need to do that. So we remember those two are our background people and background. What we would do is, we don't really have to do anything about the background people. What you want to do is you want to do the main character first. So this is our main character, sort of focal point there. And I just realized it's a little slanted. I'm gonna make it a little better right now. Free transform. Maybe that aligns better. And I think it can be larger. I mean, compared to the guy in the front, he's a little too small. I just realized that, you know. That's one of the good thing that you would thank yourself for separating them into layers. Even though you don't have to, but I just think it's convenient. Okay. You know what? I think it's the foreground guy is probably too large. We can transform him a little. Free transform is your good friend. Trust me. And you can position them into a better place as well. It's always nice. Let's see. Okay. And what I think is, it doesn't look like he's looking up, so let's transform that a little. Sorry. Bear with me. I have attention to these little details I usually have. Yeah, now it looks like he's looking up at him. That's good. Deselect. So, I hope my stuff is helpful. If this is helpful, please, I would really appreciate your support. Just either follow me or follow me on my YouTube channel. I would upload them later on YouTube because Twitch will delete the videos later on. Like me on there, check out my Patreon if you want to. Thank you all for your sharing and support and watching my live stream. It really means a lot to me. Knows that at least someone's looking at my artwork, you know. You know, sometimes when you draw, you feel like you're the only person that lives in this world. You know, it's sort of lonely, but sort of, you know, if you're an artist, you understand what I'm saying. You feel like you're in a spaceship. Maybe that's just me. Okay, I don't think it's slanted enough. Sorry, I'm a little OCD on my details here. Just bear with me. Maybe that made more sense. Okay. Well, that's one of the things. Sometimes when you draw background, you can make the line a lot thinner when it's close to the main character, like this, like almost disappearing. So you won't, like your eyes will go to this person instantly, because it's not a part of the background. That's one of the little tricks that I do. In this case, he's pretty clear, so I think that's fine. Okay, so come back to gradation. What you want to do is just create another layer down there. And now I decide all of them should be orange. So I know what layer is it when I come back for revision. That's very helpful. Just color them. Okay. It definitely helps when you do this. Sometimes it's fun to do gradation too, it also help the art director see clearly what's going on too. It's good. So when they request you to do gradation, this is good. So and it's easy to do too. I would put another layer below this one. Make sure it's orange. I think that's good. You can put a little shadow on there. Definitely works. I think I forgot the pocket. So yeah, it gives you a sense of where the light is. It also help the client see, you know, what the art director is thinking about cinematography as well. So it definitely helps when you put some gradation. So don't be afraid to do gradation. Definitely helps. Let's add the pocket. There you go. Add the pocket. Let's go. There you go. That's good. I think that's okay. It's fine. That's fine. Sometimes they want you to just do a different section of the object. For example, this suit he's wearing, it's a darker color. So you can just go ahead and just color that. You know what? Probably should do another layer. What you can do is make the previous layer into multiply and put another layers below, and whatever you color on it, the one you have previously will serve as a shadow when you set that layers to multiply. It's a quite useful function of the layers. When you just want a simple shadow, I always go for multiply. Oh, this is probably a long video. I'm just gonna show you guys this frame of how I do it. After this will be the end of this video. Before that, you can put in a comment, send me any question. I'll try to answer them. If you have any question about storyboards, how I do it, and process, please let me know. So there you go. And he has a little wrist thingy over there. There you go. Same thing with well, his jacket was white, so can't really do anything about it. I think the top part is black. Yeah. I can go lazy and just keep coloring the other ones. That's totally fine. Oh yeah, about gradation. Coloring on the foreground people. There is one thing you need to know. Let's give another layers. You cannot do on the same layer. Okay, what you need to know is you have to color it. It's one of the not the good point about doing the Gaussian blur, because when you do the gradation, you have to Gaussian blur the gradation as well. That's just it's a little bit troublesome if you have to come back and do the revision and have to kind of redo the gradation too. But yeah, that's one of the things you have to deal with. So I'd say that's one other thing you have to deal with. So as you can see right now, I'm coloring the foreground person. The foreground person. He's gonna be very nice later on. There you go. Some fake hair that looks like a cap right now. I don't have to go too details because it's gonna blur out later. And I just realized I haven't put on pants color for this person yet. Like what I can do is I think I can put the foreground and the background color people together. I think it's okay because we're gonna blur together anyway. I think it's okay because I know I'm not going to do any revision for this because this is a personal project. But again, if you were doing it for an art director, maybe it's best you put on another layer to do the gradation of the background people. Well, I just think about something. I do need a separate layer because there's another thing I want to show you guys. So if you want to do that, you want to separate the layers. I don't know if any of you know this. You select this part that you want to be the separate layer, and right click it and click layer via cut. It will instantly duplicate not duplicate, like creating a new layer that have the area that you're selected. This is very useful. Make sure you have that in the right orders, and now you're good to go. Just sort of went a little rough on the background layer people. So they are good. Okay, just bear with me for a second. I'm just gonna finish roughly color the background people a little bit. I'm not going to color the background. I think that's okay. Leave it like that. I think it's fine. Usually depends on the situation. I sometimes do color the background. Just sort of do them quickly. the background blur people, they are not important information, but still you want to make sure they have you know what they are, you know. Oh, I think they have a sleeve thingy. Just remember now they have a sleeve thingy. Hold on. That's one of the things about costume design. I think they really did a great job on this game. Anyway, that's off topic. Make sure it's consistent. There you go. It's consistent. It is consistent. There you go. Okay, I'm gonna show you. I'm almost finished with the rough coloring. So I'm gonna show you what I meant by blurring it up. Let's make that part a little legible. Okay. So same thing. If this is blurred, you can see the gradation is obviously have hard edges. It doesn't go with it. So you have to blur with it. Again, you should duplicate it. Do this on the separate layer so you can come back when you need to. Always give yourself a emergency exit. Always duplicate layers. Don't ruin the original one. But in this case, I know I won't be coming back for revision because it's a personal project, so I can't just blur ahead with the layers I have right now. So this is the background. I'm also gonna blur it. There you go. What I'm gonna do with the background layer is I'm gonna turn on the hue and saturation. Hue and saturation, and make sure the layer. Make sure when you press, I think when you press Shift. I'm not sure about Windows, but it should work. Okay, it doesn't work. I have no idea why. Usually when you press Shift, it'll just go down to that layer. Let me see if they have the option. Flatter image. Abort. Anyway, just quickly showing you. I'm gonna lighten it up a little bit for the background, so it's not too distracting, because background, it's secondary important information, so you don't have to get as dark as the front image. What I can do here also is, what you can do here, foreground object is usually a lot darker than you think. So what I would do is I would put another multiply layers, roughly color the whole person in the foreground. Make sure you leave some edge light there, so it's not completely dark. You can do completely dark, it depends on you, but for me, I like a little bit of edge light there, just tiny bit, you know, like this little. Don't color the whole thing, you know what I mean? Don't color the whole thing. You'll see what I mean when I Gaussian blur this layers. Okay, that's Gaussian blur it. Blur, there you go. Okay. Make sure that's an orange layer. Ooh, not what I intend to do. Orange layer. There you go. So, Now you have layered with gradation. And I think that's a little, yeah, something like that. If you think this is too dark over here, what you can do is, I'll multiply that. Oh, it makes the whole image really dark. I have no idea why. Okay, well, what I would do is, well, what did I do? Okay, what I would do is I would have another layer, and you can put gradation tool. Gradation tool is so useful. You see the little different style up here. What I would do with this is with this, the circular one, the second one. You can do a reverse. I think it's reverse, and then make sure you select a darker gray. And the layer is on multiple. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. Wrong one. Not the reverse. My bad. Something like this. So that corner is darker to balance this out. If that makes sense. I could cover that by accident. There you go. So you see, I added that. Okay, got a little lighter. Doesn't have to be that dark. So that balanced this part out, if that makes sense. And I mean, you can go further more if you want to. I can do this really quick when I'm not explaining it. It takes a lot of time explaining it. What I would do is this. If this is in a glass tube, I would cover it with another layer. Right now I can't do anything on the layer right now. I'm not sure what can I do, but you can brush it out. You can brush it out with white, with some with a soft brush. Make sure your opacity is 40 to 50, flow is 40 to 50, and just brush it. Yeah, just brush it. To give that texture though, I mean, there's probably not a lot of opportunity that you draw a glass tube in your storyboards, but I'm just saying that is one of the things you want to create a texture on it. And now I'm done with this. Come back again with I'm gonna explain the layer comp a little bit more if you guys are not familiar with layer comp, which I explained earlier in this video. Right now this is the frame 2, but this frame 2 right here in the layer comp was saved as the draft I had before, but now we finished this frame. What you have to do is you see this little icon here that has 2 arrows in a circle that's updated it. So by clicking that, whatever you see right now, whatever layer is visible right now, will save into this layer comp layer. So when we go to other layer comp, they still stay the same. When we come back to 2, we already save it as 2. And what's also very useful for this is, I'm gonna show you, when you finished all of your layers, say you're good to go, you want to save all of them out. You don't have to save them one by one, or you don't have to save them by layers. I mean, you can save them by layers, but I don't do that. One of the good thing about layer comp is you number them properly by the numbers and make sure you go through every layers that's all good to go, good as it seems. Then what you want to do is, okay, listen carefully. You go to File. This is a newer Photoshop version. I think it would be Export if I'm right. There you go. You go to File, Export. In an older version that I had before, you would go to Scripts. But this is a newer version, it's Photoshop CC. You will go to Export, and you will go to Layer comes to Files. Usually they want files. You can export to PDF, but usually they go on file. So what you can do is, this is the thing, turn off the index. The index number is the number that when they export the layers, they will automatically give every files a number after the file name prefix that you already had, and then it will later on add on the different numbers that you already have, and that's very confusing. So you want to turn that off unless you like it, but I don't like it. It's gonna be too confusing. So turn off the index, browse where you want to save. Let's go to desktop, personal art. Let's create another layer. There's also another thing about naming your folder. Say this is, let's say this file name is Connor. What you want to say, if you wanna do underscore, and you want to do V01. This helps a lot when you comes to be clear about what version you are on right now, because revision can come back, and you should save the revision files into another folder. Let's say if it come back and for a revision, and I will create a new folder called Connor underscore V02. Then that's so much clearer, and you know what kind of file you have to send to your art director later on. So it helps you save time too. So just something about the file names. So let's save that to Connor V01. Also, your PSD file should be Connor V01, something V01. So when the revision come back, there's also another thing about PSD. You should save another PSD as V02 when you work on it, so you don't have to touch the V01 PSD at all. Well, a good thing is about sometimes when the revision come back, sometimes that happens to me a lot. You already deleted a lot of stuff that you don't think they needed, and then later on when the fourth revision come back, they will be like, hey, we want to put that whatever person back into this frame. Then you would come back to PSD-V01 to find that layers and paste it into your current PSD file. So that's one thing to have in mind. Don't ever cover your PSD files. Anyway, so enough being said. Oh, this is not Mac. I'm sorry. I need to create a new folder. How do I create a new folder on? There you go. Create a new folder. Connor underscore V01. Okay. Now we have the destination and file name Connor underscore V01. You will see later when I show you the exported file. Okay, and then file type. This is very important. You don't want to save a whole bunch of different PSD files unless you're making animatic and After Effects. And don't save any PSD file. It's gonna take a lot of space. Let's just go for JPG. Usually, you don't have to be so high quality. Usually I go with 10. In this case, I want to go with the highest one. And oh, there's another thing about it. I'll show you guys later. You know, like when there's a selected layer comes only. So later on, when you only want to export certain layers, you can select certain layers by pressing Shift and select certain layers or Control. And then when you come to export, layer comes to files, you can check this box and it won't export the whole thing. It will only export the layer comps that you selected. So now we're good to go. You just press run and then it will literally run through. As you can see, I'm not touching it right now. It's gonna run through the whole layers. And layer comes to files was successful. So let's go look at it. There you go. This is the files we saved. Now you can see it's the file name is in order. Like what I said, if you have that index box checked, it will appear like corner V01 001 and then -1. You know, it will be very confusing. So I really recommend it to uncheck that box. So this is what we have right now, which is very convenient. So I think I'm pretty much covered everything about storyboards, and I hope that helped, guys. Give me any like or comment, or check out my Patreon, or if you think this video is useful, you know, you can share it, leave me any question. That's being said, thank you guys for watching this. Thank you for your all support. I'm gonna upload this later onto YouTube. Thank you. That's it for today. Bye.